aid of your lotus feet. Your fame spread all over. So today we're continuing our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, entitled The Status Quo, Chapter 9, Lord Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, and today we're on text 23. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Text 23, please repeat. Esha Prapana Varado Ramayatma Shakya. Where's text 23? Where's Lakshmi Mission?
Let's see.
Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 23.
Chapter 9.
Shakya.
Esha Pramana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Prakhana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Pramana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
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 Esha Prabhana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Pramana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Please chant.
Isha Prapana Varado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Pramana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Esha Prapanna Varado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Prabhana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Isha Prapana Varado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Prabhana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Anybody else?
Esha Prapana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Esha Prabhana Bharado Ramayatma Shakya.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Yad Yad Karishyati Grihita Gunavatara.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Tasmin Svavikramamidam Srijatopi Cheto.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Yujita Karma Shamalam Jayata Vijayam.
Word for word synonyms, please repeat. Esha.
Esha.
This.
This.
Prapana.
Prapana.
One who is surrendered.
One who is surrendered.
a goddess of fortune, Lakshmi.
Enduring always as the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi.
Atma Shakya,
Atma Shakya,
with his internal potency.
with his internal potency.
Yat Yat,
Yat,
whatever.
whatever.
Karishyati,
Karishyati,
he may act.
he may act.
Grihita,
Grihita,
accepting.
accepting.
Guna Avatara,
Guna Avatara,
incarnation of the mode of goodness.
incarnation of the mode of goodness.
Tasmin,
Tasmay,
unto him.
unto him,
Svavikramam,
Svavikramam,
with omnipotency.
with omnipotency.
Idam,
Idam,
this cosmic manifestation.
this cosmic manifestation.
Srijatam,
Vijatam,
creating.
creating.
Api,
Api,
in spite of.
in spite of.
Chaitana,
Chaitana,
heart.
Heart.
Yunjita,
Yunjita,
be engaged.
engaged.
Karma,
Karma,
work.
work.
Shamalam,
Shamalam,
material affection.
material.
Jam, also.
Also.
Yata,
Yata,
as much as.
as much as.
Vijayam,
Vijayam,
I can give up.
I can give up.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we're continuing Lord Brahma. He's praying to the Lord. So this is Lord Brahma speaking. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of the surrendered souls. His activities are always enacted through his internal potency, Rama, or the goddess of fortune. I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world. And I pray that I not be materially affected by my works, for thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator. So we mentioned a week or two ago that one time devotees asked Prabhupada if we could compose prayers of our own to offer to the Lord. And Prabhupada said, yes, but you can memorize prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam. That you can take prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam, memorize them, and offer those to the Lord. So this is a very nice prayer. This is one of the exceptional prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport and discuss how this is a very exceptional prayer that all of us should either memorize or to the best of our ability try to remember the mood and the message of this prayer. So Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the matter of material creation, maintenance, and destruction, there are three incarnations of the material modes of nature, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwari. But the Lord's incarnation as Vishnu, in his internal potency, is the supreme energy for the total activities. Brahma, who is only an assistant in the modes of creation, wanted to remain in his actual position as an instrument of the Lord, instead of becoming puffed up by the false prestige of thinking himself the creator. That is the way of becoming dear to the Supreme Lord and receiving his benediction. How do we become dear to the Lord and receive his benediction? Everybody wants his benediction. Whether it's a material benediction, please give me nice spouse, nice children, nice money, nice job, whatever. Or we want spiritual benedictions. And we don't get benedictions just by asking for them. I mean, you can ask, but the bestower of the benediction has to give. So when the Supreme Lord is feeling attracted to that person who's offering prayers, then he will reciprocate by bestowing benediction. So we have to become dear to the Supreme Lord. So how do we become dear to the Supreme Lord? By remaining in our actual position as merely an instrument of the Lord, Instead of becoming puffed up by false prestige, thinking ourselves some kind of doer. That is the way of becoming dear to the Supreme Lord and receiving his benediction. Foolish men, Prabhupada speaking about us, foolish men want to take credit for all creations made by them, but intelligent persons know very well that not a blade of grass can move without the will of the Lord. Thus all the credit for wonderful creations must go to him. By spiritual consciousness only can one be free from the contamination of material affection and receive the benedictions offered by the Lord. End of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying that he's intimating that we're all infected with the same disease. We're going to all go to the hospital this afternoon, and we're all going to get diagnosed with the same exact disease. And what is that disease? Material affection. We have affection for, beginning with our own body, and everything that's related to the body, our offspring, our pet animals, our bank account, our toys, our estate. So material affection is the disease of the conditioned soul. And we're all going to get the same medicine, and there's only one medicine, and that is spiritual consciousness. That one cannot give up material affection simply by saying, I'm going to give up material affection. What we really do, like you often see persons try to practice what's called, detachment and renunciation, right? But what is that detachment and renunciation? If we're not in Krishna consciousness, if we're not attached to Krishna, then what we're really doing is just changing the flavor of our material affection. Right now I have material affection for family and pet animals and so many things, position in society, and maybe I'll change the flavor of that material affection, and now I'll have material affection for, being like this really laid-back person who just doesn't have a job, and I'm a free spirit, and I wander, and but that's also material affection. That we're attracted to a different mode of nature, etc. So Prabhupada says only through spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness can one be cured of the disease of material affection. So what happens when one is afflicted with material affection? One acts with the interest of those things that they're having affection for in mind. I have affection for my family. This was Arjuna's his flavor of material affection. Arjuna had affection for his family. Okay, that's normal. But due to that affection for the family being greater than, at that point when he was bewildered, greater than his affection to Krishna. I mean, come on, he loved Krishna. Krishna is his cousin brother, right? But when it comes down to, shall I follow Krishna's instruction to fight and kill my family members? Or should I walk away from the battlefield and protect my family members? The latter won. And Arjuna was definitely in the mood of, I'm out of here, I'm going AWOL, I'm not coming back to this battlefield. So, the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's instructions to Arjuna to cure him of material affection. Not to simply alter his material affection from one flavor to another, but to do away with material affection by giving him real Krishna consciousness, real affection for Krishna. So this is our disease, is that we're motivated by material affection. All our words and thoughts and actions are motivated by some kind of material affection. So what are we supposed to do while we're in this world? How are we supposed to think and speak and act? Is Krishna, is Prabhupada just asking us to become cold-hearted, to have a heart of stone and not have any affection, to not do any work in this world? So here, this is a very important prayer by Lord Brahma, because he's praying to Lord Vishnu that I am about to be engaged in your service. And what is that service Lord Brahma's going to do? He's not going to be going on the altar to offer arti or going to the kitchen to cook a preparation. His service is going to be to create all the paraphernalia within the universe and all the bodies of the living entities that are going to take birth in the universe. He's got a huge service to do. And he's very qualified for it. That's why he has the position. But he prays to the Lord that as I go to undertake this service, please protect me from the propensity to claim myself the doer. Please protect me from that material affection which gives me the false prestige of thinking, just see how I'm doing this creation work. I want to act according to my best ability. I am qualified for this position, therefore I will do this seva or service. But please protect me from becoming puffed up by false prestige. So, Bhagavad Gita is actually the manual, if you will, the user's manual on how to live in this world and act in such a way that we work hard for Krishna. We dedicate all our time and energy and words and thoughts fully to Krishna 24/7, but we don't become afflicted with the false notion that I am the doer, look what a great job I did, I'm really qualified, etc. So, Arjuna is afflicted by false, material affection, and he decides not to fight the war, or at least he's thinking of not fighting the war. So Krishna is going to teach Arjuna and all of us how to live in this world and still do our duties, but not become entangled with false prestige. One with false prestige has to take birth again in this material world. And what is that false prestige? I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor. So in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks a verse to Arjuna. He says, Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, that means understanding that Krishna is the actual doer through me, without desires for profit. I'm not going to enjoy the results of the activities. All the results, all the results belong to Krishna, with no claims to proprietorship or ownership, and free from lethargy, fight. So he tells Arjuna, give up the lethargy that, I don't want to do this. It sounds hard. That's a material affection. Our affection is for my mind. Because the mind has two activities and only two activities. At every microsecond, the mind is accepting something. Oh, that is so nice. Or rejecting something. Ooh, I don't want that. That's not attractive. And it might be the same thing. At one moment, I am attracted to somebody or something, and the next moment, throw that away. I don't want that. So that's called lethargy, when the mind is affected by rejection. We're rejecting that which we need to do. And we might, even as aspiring devotees practicing sadhakas, we might be afflicted with that too, right? Oh, Prabhu, the cook is sick today, the regular cook, can you go cook the offering? Okay. And then we look at the clock and we calculate how many minutes do I really need to cook that offering? I mean, I could do it this quick, So let me just slide into the kitchen at the last minute, whip that offering together, throw it on the plates and get it on the altar. Good, I got my job done. That's called lethargy. We might go to the kitchen and seemingly work hard, but it's actually lethargy because, I don't want to do it. Let me do it in the shortest way, the fastest way, cut corners. Like I don't put my heart into it. Let me just do the bare minimum so I get away with what I have to do. So that's a form of lethargy. That's a form of lethargy, that we're not giving it our all. We're holding back. So Krishna says to Arjuna that you do your work. Get up and fight, he says. Free of lethargy. Just dedicate your activities to me. Then in the next chapter, chapter 4, let's see, where is that verse? In chapter 4, forgetting the number, Krishna also tells Arjuna that get up and fight. Arjuna is still sitting there. I forget the verse number, 4 something. Arjuna is still sitting there after Krishna has already instructed him to dedicate dedicate his works to him. Still, Arjuna is sitting there and not getting up and fighting. So Krishna chastises him.
Is it in the 30s?
And he tells Arjuna, get up and fight. Stop sitting there. Because Arjuna is thinking, well, if Krishna's the actual doer, then why doesn't Krishna just fight the war for him? And Krishna's saying here, no, you have to get up and fight. You can't just sit there. Yeah, it's 442, way back here. He says to Arjuna, therefore the doubts that have arisen in your heart out of ignorance shall be slashed by the weapon of knowledge, armed with yoga or bharata, stand and fight. So we seem to have some conflicting moods here. On one hand, Krishna is telling Arjuna, get up, give it all your energy and fight. And on the other hand, he's saying, just dedicate all your works to me, knowing that you're not the doer. But back in 3:30, where Krishna was telling Arjuna, get up free from lethargy and fight, Prabhupada says that this verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. Somebody asks you, what's the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita? It's chapter 3, text 30. Prabhupada says, the Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Military discipline. I have to do this right now. No shortcutting. Okay, now we'll jump over to chapter 18, where Krishna concludes his teachings to Arjuna. And he says to Arjuna that in all activities just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. And then the next verse, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. But if you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not here and there, you will be lost. So what is that false ego? Thinking that I'm the doer. And then he concludes by saying to Arjuna, if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed by your nature. You will have to be engaged in warfare. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is giving us two factors or two ingredients to our work. He's telling Arjuna, it's your nature to fight. If you don't fight under my direction, you're gonna get involved in some kind of fight over there or over there. So he's saying, give up lethargy, give it your best, and fight. And on the other hand, he's saying, just depend upon me. I'm the actual source of your empowerment. So it seems like a dichotomy. I have to work really hard and give it my best, but yet just fully depend on Krishna. He's the actual doer. He tells Arjuna, you can only be an instrument in the fight. Just an instrument. So how to balance that in our life? And that is the art of devotional service. So Prabhupada said we should execute our duties as if in military discipline. But at the same time, adopt the mood of Lord Brahma in today's verse, which is, let me engage in this very important service of creation, but please protect me from being affected by false prestige, which causes me to think that I am the doer. So the symptom that I'm not trying to take credit for my service, like I'm the doer. Oh, just see what a great, garland I made. Wasn't it so beautiful? I did such a good job making that garland, or sewing that outfit, or cooking that preparation, or managing the bank account, or cleaning the floor, whatever, washing the pots. We should do our best. We should scrub those pots until they're shiny, clean, looking like brand new. We give it our all. But the symptom that we are doing our service under the influence of false prestige is that we want praise for our service. We want to be either paid for our service, like money, or we want to be paid with compliments and attention. So Prabhupada, in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna lists the symptoms or the items of knowledge, Krishna first lists humility and pridelessness. And Prabhupada defines humility as being free of the desire to receive honor from others. That's humility. That I don't need or desire honor from others, attention from others. So that's the symptom of real devotional service, that I'm not claiming proprietorship over the outcome of my service. The outcome of my service is that all the pots in the kitchen look brand new. They're like shiny clean. And now I want people to notice that. And, I might not be vocalizing it or even thinking it really consciously, but I go to the kitchen and days and weeks go by and nobody ever said anything to me. That, oh my God, did you buy new pots or what? You did a fantastic job, Prabhu. Good job, A+. We want that. But Lord Brahma's saying, no, please, my Lord, don't let me become influenced by false prestige, thinking that I am the creator and therefore I am the possessor of the results of the activities. And one of the results of the activity is that there's some glorification. Oh, you did such a great job, you know. Anyway, it's a very subtle but significant point that there's a difference between taking pride in my service. Like if I don't really care about my service, let me just rinse the pot off and throw it on the shelf. Get it done as fast as possible. But if I take pride in my service, I'm going to scrub that thing till it looks brand new. Whether anybody notices it or not. Krishna notices it. It's for Krishna. Because I don't want Krishna's pots to look like they just came from a lower planet or something. Or that they belong in a slaughter restaurant or something.
Or they're cleaned by a chimney sweeper.
Yeah. Yamuna Devi received tons of mercy from Srila Prabhupada. She's one of his earliest disciples. And Yamuna Devi explains that when she flew from San Francisco to New York to attend her sister's wedding, her sister, Janaki, was getting married to Mukunda Prabhu. Prabhupada was performing their wedding. So Yamuna, not yet a devotee, came to her sister's wedding, and Prabhupada immediately gave her some service. And the very first service he gave her was scrubbing a pot, because they were going to cook for the wedding, you know? So here, clean this pot. Okay, fine. So she went to the sink and she cleaned it. Okay, brought it back. Prabhupada said, what? That's not clean. She said, no, looks clean to me. No, look at that black on the outside of the pot. What is this? Oh, okay, I'll go scrub it. And she went and she scrubbed, till she was sweating. And then she came back, okay, Prabhupada, here's the pot. What? That's not clean? I can still see some black over here and some black over here. And she had to take it to the bathtub where she could have lots of water and just like scrub that thing till her arm was like tired. And finally, after a long time of scrubbing, she brought it back. Perfectly clean. And Prabhupada was so pleased. And because she practiced that one act of self-surrender, Atma-nikshepa, that's one of the symptoms of surrender, is that one makes the desire of Krishna my desire. The desire of the Guru, my desire. Like, I don't care if the pot's clean or not. I just throw it on the shelf. But Prabhupada wants this pot sparkling clean, looking like brand new. So she surrendered to that, and you know what the result was? She became one of Prabhupada's main cooks. He personally taught her how to cook, and she became a world-famous cook. And she became a world-famous chanter of Harinam. And to this day, although she passed away about 10 years ago, her glories are still sung. And for your information, Shushma, in the morning when we come at 7 o'clock and we play that recording, Govindam Adipurushanam Tamaham Bhajami, she's the lead singer on that. She got so much mercy from Srila Prabhupada that she became an empowered kirtaniya and an empowered cook and an empowered preacher. Simply because she performed that initial act of Atma-nikshepa, that, okay, my desire is to just like throw the pot on the shelf and call it clean. But Prabhupada's desire is that this gets scrubbed till it's shiny clean, and she did that, and all benedictions came. So that's what we read here, that Prabhupada said that this is the way of becoming dear to the Supreme Lord and receiving benedictions. There's no other way. So we'll stop there and see if there's any discussion. Kirana?
Well, I think, like you say, there has to be some fine line, some balance, because we're not pure devotees. Like Lord Brahma is the most humble, the most self-realized, and we're just here trying to forget that mundane consciousness and trying to be spiritual. But in the process, you know, many devotees have left because they got offended or because they weren't praised enough, or their service went unnoticed, or, you know, so really, I would say, especially with new people, but I would say with all people, because it's such a rare thing, even when you have devotees living in a community, it's so rare that any of them step up for some service. But there's just a core of people doing all the service. And even the devotees that are initiated Brahmanically, they don't do that much, and whatever. So when they do come, one of the techniques or one of the things we try to do is encourage them and fan that spark and all that. So I understand the whole point, because it's like an amazing prayer that we should pray for ourselves like that, but in general.
So the art of Devotee Association is how to serve each other, appreciate each other, even glorify each other in such a way that my false ego doesn't get puffed up by doing so, and your false ego doesn't get puffed up by being the receiver of that service or praise or glorification, appreciation. So that's the art of management, that's the art of being a senior devotee, instructing junior devotees, being a parent, instructing the children, etc., etc. How to fan the spark of enthusiasm without, like Prabhupada said, you have a flame, right? You want to start a fire, you've got one little flame. If you don't fan it, give it some air, it's just going to go poof, right? But if you fan it too hard, it's also going to go poof. So you have to fan it in such a way that it grows into a beautiful fire, right? So we have to learn the art of how to receive appreciation. So when somebody appreciates our service, oh, you did such a nice job with whatever, then we, in our mind, are immediately saying, or if we don't say it out loud, oh, it's all Guru's mercy. Right? We don't just take it, yes, I know, I did such a good job, thank you. We say, thank you, Prabhu, for encouraging me. It is all Guru's mercy, Guru and Krishna's mercy. I'm just trying to be an instrument. So, false prestige is what we want to cure ourselves and each other of. And we practice that by reminding ourselves that I'm just trying to be a good instrument. You know, the knife in the kitchen, you go to cut something, oh, it's all dull. This can't even cut, butter, it's so dull. So you throw that knife away and you get a sharp knife. So we don't want to be a dull knife, we want to be a sharp knife. So when others tell us, you've done your service very nicely, they're encouraging us, okay, you're being a good knife. You're not a dull knife. But we don't say, oh yes, I'm a sharp knife. We say, oh, that is your mercy, Prabhu, because you're teaching me. That's my Guru's mercy. Let me continue to be doing good service for my Guru. So it's a real art that we have to practice, getting the false ego out of the way. Give you 2 hands here, you want to go first?
Yeah, just a little addition to that we should feel that it's reciprocation from Krishna, and it's our good fortune to be able to do some service. We're fortunate because we're not serving the modes of material nature anymore, or our false ego. So it's just like, oh, who I am. Like that, Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna's mercy.
And if we've been around for more than a few weeks, we should be in the mood that I don't have to be praised every single time I do something. How many times do I have to tell you, oh, you washed the floor very nicely today, Prabhu? It's just like, you understand. If I'm doing it in proper consciousness, Krishna is pleased. I don't have to, so as we go on in Krishna consciousness, we should see some maturation happening, that we're not like just, Prabhupada said, humility means not desiring honor from others. Detachment and Renunciation.
It's a different question, but it's a related question. So my understanding of Prabhupada's emphasis on Kirtan is first do your japa, 16 rounds of japa, then go these are Bollywood tunes and
Yeah, the Yuga Dharma is not bhajan. The Yuga Dharma is Sankirtan. That means taking the holy name to the public. Now, for example, in Vrindavan and Mayapur, they do have 24-hour kirtan in the temple because thousands and thousands of public people are coming into the temple. You don't have to go out into the street. If you go to the street, you're only going to find a few hundred that can hear the holy name. But just by sitting in the Vrindavan or Mayapur temple, thousands of the public people are coming in. So that's Sankirtan, you know? But if we're only chanting ourselves or our little group, that's not sufficient. We do that to become purified and to gain strength, you know? Lord Chaitanya and his closest associates would indeed lock the door at Srivas Angam and have nocturnal kirtans where nobody else could come in because they were boiling the milk and really nurturing that mood of pure ecstasy, getting realizations from the holy name, so then that would boil over and they would run out into the public the next day and do Harinam Sankirtan. You know, so it has to be in the mood always of preaching. If we chant in the mood of let's enjoy, it's like having a concert or something. You know, but we have to be in the mood of being purified, getting purified so that I can bring the holy name to others properly.
So on the point of kirtan, this is, so I'm not trying to go, but he's brought up kirtan. And I'm reminded, I've been reflecting on this quite a bit lately, is that the Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan in 1975. I was walking back before Ashram, and I was behind two Indian gentlemen, and they spoke perfect English. I could never catch up to them and see their faces, but they were talking loud enough for me to hear. And they were saying something that I had never thought of before, and that is, well, you see, one was saying, but you see, they're doing the Bengali style of kirtan. And the other one saying, and then this is, not the, and we're in Vrindavan, they should be doing the Vrindavan style of kirtan. And I had no idea what that meant. What is this Bengali style, Vrindavan style? What is that? And as the years are going by now, I'm realizing that this new generation, their kirtans are more of the Vrindavan style of sitting down and singing in the temple room, and they go on forever, and they're just, beyond words to describe how beautiful they are and how, ecstatic they are. But it's a completely different mood from, when Prabhupada was going out on Harinam Sankirtan, it was chanting and dancing. And so that, we did go on for a long time, but if you're sitting down, you can go on longer. And so somehow or other now, I feel like, even I see the New York devotees, and they're sitting down on the sidewalk. And I'm not criticizing